coming down and kind of landing on the saddle and on his shoulder, and I literally just slid down his left leg, his left shoulder, okay? Literally just slid down, and off he went running. And his life depended on it. He ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran, and luckily, I'm careful to make sure that my saddle is always on tight enough that if they do get away from you and start running like that, they're not going to end up with a saddle under their belly. And so, he was safely running around with the saddle on, but he was running for his life. So I concluded that no, there's definitely something up, much more than want to be broke or is afraid of being broke. There's more between the catatonic thing and just his when he came out of that. So over the course of time, I had multiple come and look at it, and we try to determine what's wrong with him. And one of the vets maybe slightly agreed with me that he seemed a little back tender, but didn't really go as far as saying that that she agreed. She thought, he's a little back tender, but she didn't really feel that this was like his big claim to pain. And then I had other vets look at him also, and I'm going to say probably a total of 5 vets, and all of them kind of cleared him for pain. Not one of them actually said, maybe we should have his back x-rayed. Nothing, right? So I was still convinced. So then even at one point I even decided, okay, I've met my match. I met a horse that I can't get through to. I met a horse that I'm strong, ego-bursting experience for me, because, I was pretty sure that I had gotten into this horse's head, and I was able to convince this horse I'm not going to hurt him. And why is this horse making me believe that I really don't have the skills to train him, and I don't have the relationship or whatever? So, there was a guy who starts horses that I knew, and I signed Tyson up to be started by him, just to, surrender to the idea that I'm just not the right person to start this horse. So I had him signed up for a clinic experience, and he was going to get started on a 3-day clinic thing, and what. Well, something still told me, while, I had already paid for this and whatever, but it was still like a up and coming event. It wasn't around the corner, but something still told me, you better just make sure, because you can't train pain. You just better make sure that he's really not in pain, and that you're not just going to hand him off to somebody else to hurt him, because, like I said, the energy is it's indescribable, the energy that I felt. So, I called a chiropractor, and she was a vet as well, and a holistic vet even, and, she does, modern medicine, whatever, and she does holistic, homeopathic, and so I called her, and she's a well-renowned, a lot of people know who she is. A lot of people use her. She was definitely highly recommended. I had known her from another horse that I worked with who used her, on a fairly regular basis, especially when Lyme, he'd have a Lyme flare-up. So, called her, had her come out, and I explained to her kind of what was going on, and I'm like, I don't want to say that he's crazy, but I'm at a point now where I'm like, maybe he's just crazy, and so she works on him for about 2 seconds. She's only at the pole, she's only at the jaw, and she goes, this horse isn't crazy, this horse is in pain. Um, and I'm going to tell you something. I've had that chiropractor look at many, many horses since, and she's never said that about another horse. Never. So anyway, she works on him. She gives me some Chinese herbs. She gives me some exercises to help him breathe. His pole was out of line. His jaw was out of line. His ribs were out of line. He was so screwed up. So she does everything that she thinks she can do for him that day. And then, we schedule a follow-up appointment in a month. So a month later, she comes back, and she concludes that he's maintained his adjustments from, the pole and the ribs and the exercises that I had done. She felt I had, really helped him with those and whatever. So she was pretty sure that everything else she had done with him was certainly effective and, we were where we needed to be. Then she says, but get him x-rayed between here and here. So she holds her hand up to his back, and she puts her left hand where the mane meets the back, the mane meets the wither, and says, get him x-rayed between here and then probably like the size of maybe a normal saddle, 16 inches, between here and here. So I said, okay, she's pretty convinced that there's something going on there, and I believe in this lady, so I'm going to go get him x-rayed between here and here. So I make an appointment, and I get him x-rayed, and it was an early morning appointment. So all the vets that had ever looked at him were still in doing their morning rounds, and when the x-rays were done, the vet kind of, I don't know if it was for educational purposes or just because he thought everybody would be curious, because most of the vets had already seen this horse and did not diagnose him with anything, but concluded that this horse had evidence in the middle of his back that he had had extreme trauma, broken, actually, in 2 places. And I told him what the breeder had said, that he seemed like he was off from the very beginning, and he told me about how, some breeding practices aren't really about the animal. Some breeding practices are about, like maybe he got pulled against a contraction, or, maybe mommy sat on him. Or maybe, he took a bad fall when he was running around being a little bit. So, who's to say? But yeah, it was a older injury. So, in conclusion, it turns out that this horse had a broken back in 2 places. And that's why he was needing a happy place. So my point on him is that he went catatonic. He knew that he had to go into a happy place because he could not handle the pain that he was experiencing, that he was being put into. And when he came out of that happy place, he came out with every ounce of who he was, saying, get away, get away, get away from the human, get away from the human is dangerous, get away from the human causes me pain, get away, get away. So his absolute flight instinct was very, very strong and very, very triggered from the instant that he was forced out of his happy place. So that's Tyson.